Thank you all. Pardon me? Yeah, I need something to say. Guys, I'm not in charge of nothing, and these guys can tell you that, and Lynn can tell you that. I have a cadre of people who make me look good and teach me a lot. And these guys have taught me so much about the roots of America's music. They've taught me so much about it that I have a passion, and I also have a vision, and they have visions for this particular community, Rutherford County, Middle Tennessee, all the way, this whole swath in northern Alabama, all in Middle Tennessee, become the home of roots music. And that's why we keep chipping away at it, doing this, that, and the other. Sometimes it looks a little strange, like making music in Shelbyville with the mules. We did that. We did that. But we've done. But all of it's about bringing this wonderful music to Rutherford County and to the world. I'll tell you a little something we did Saturday night. Friday night was a lot of people have started their careers at Uncle Dave Macon Days. And one of whom was actually, my son actually is managing one of the groups that started, but called the Cleverleys. And Friday night, and they have been through some things, you know, like through COVID, through lots of things that artists have gone through and are resurrecting their careers. And got backstage at the Opry with them. And, you know, it's the 100th anniversary of the Opry, and I go, what makes this work? What is making this last 100 years? What makes anything last? What do you think? You have any idea? Teamwork. In order to be a teamwork, what do you have to be?
A team.
A team, that would be good. But in order to be a team, passion. Yeah, that's one piece.
Work together.
Work together. One of the things I noticed, we're going to, Charlie McCoy is going to be joining us this year at Uncle Dave Macon Days, but also the Cleverleys, two different generations. And what I noticed is when Charlie's on, 84-year-old Charlie, bellowing this harmonica all over, this talent that's just rich and has played with everybody in the world, artists just name it. And in fact, he told me, he said, you know, I think I've played with every artist in America, and he probably has, that's recorded in Nashville and everywhere else. But then what I see happening is here's the old ones and the young ones coming on, and they help each other. And there was, Charlie goes off, the young girl goes on, they're cheering her on, she comes off, all this exchange. Guys, they're friends. They are friends. Don't you work better together when you're friends? Some people, don't you? These are my friends, yeah? And we have a great group of friends that work together with Uncle Dave Macon Days. And I feel like that potential, you know, you don't really, when you're working with your friend, you're right, you have teamwork. What other things happen when you're friends? What do you support? What do you do with your friends? Oh, yeah, you have a blast. Yeah, and that's what they were doing. They were absolutely having a blast. And they now, and do friends, when you're friends, you want the best, right? And boy, that's what I saw happening. They were kicking it in gear. In fact, the Cleverleys closed the Grand Ole Opry. And like I said, that whole line that has been going through some stuff, and they just knocked it out of the park. Everybody gets off the stage. They walk off the stage, and Paul Harris, the lead singer, tears running down the street. Everybody's hugging, and we knew it was something special. And that sentiment, that emotion, I've been trying to tell you that Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, has the potential to become the roots of America's music. That story is not being told, right, Thomas? We got smatterings of it. We got Uncle Dave, we got Jazz Fest, we got all of these different enclaves that do things, but what if you put it together? Actually, this was one of my husband's dreams to do this, and he went to put it together in an organization called CHORD, Collaboration, Harmony, Opportunities, Relationship, and Destination. That's what CHORD stood for. Tonight we're going to talk to you about someone who really got it. He got it a long time ago, before I was ever born, and long time before you were born too. But, you know, Uncle Dave was a special, unique character. He really bridged the 19th and 20th century, right?
Yes, yeah.
Down, you want to speak to that a little bit, about how he brought the 19th century music, folk music, and influenced the 20th century?
Well, I can try. He, of course, everybody is familiar with the Civil War. Right after that, you had the period of Reconstruction where you had this transition, you know, people trying to figure out what to do with the former Confederacy after the war, and there was a lot of changes going on. Really turbulent time, I would say, and he grew up during this period. He was born in 1870, and his father was a Confederate veteran, and he, I think, would have grown up hearing a lot of music that was holdovers from the old minstrel show days. And when he was a really little boy, he was growing up in Smart Station, Tennessee, near Minville, but after a number of years, the family relocated to Nashville, where his mother ran a hotel, and you have all those performers coming in and out, just like Nashville sees a lot of performers coming in and out today. It did then. And somebody told me it was a riverboat town where a lot of wild ones would come in there. So it's like that explains some of Uncle Dave's outspokenness, you know. And so you had a lot of the old minstrel performers and early vaudeville coming in there. Probably everybody from clowns to jugglers, to banjo players, whatever. And like I say, his parents had this hotel, and these acts, they would be practicing their shows when they're down there in the basement, you know. And he would pick up tunes from them, hear them play, you know, as a teenager and early teenager. And one of the people that influenced him was a circus performer by the name of Joel Davidson, and he learned to play the banjo some from him. That was the fellow that made him want to play. When he had seen that, he was just struck by him, you know. And he was about 16 years old, and 15 or 16, you know, begged his parents for a banjo, you know, and his mother, I guess, met him halfway with it. He saved up some of the money, and she gave him the rest of the money, and they bought him a banjo for his 16th birthday, which you can find a picture on the internet of a young Uncle Dave Macon with his first banjo.
Well, this is him over here.
Have we got the picture of him?
I don't have that one. Actually, I have him. He's playing with Maisie Todd. Anybody ever heard of Maisie Todd?
Now there's some old school Rutherford County for you right now.
That's him, and this is Maisie. Maisie, I didn't realize, Daniel, that his plaque is on he's a member of the Grand Ole Opry. Right there, Uncle Dave, Maisie Todd. I didn't know that,
Good.
but he's probably a little older than 16 there. That's a group of band called Chicken Band, and
What I think that would have been a band called the Reedyville Roosters, I
really,
believe.
okay. Well, the reason that they were referred to a chicken or a rooster is their payment was fried chicken, a fried chicken dinner. So, yeah, that's what they got. Did you know that, Benny?
I've heard about it. But Maisie, he was a blacksmith, and I think he was kind of the champion fiddler of Rutherford County
Yeah.
back in the 20s.
See why this is
But,
important?
Here's the sad thing, even the recordings that he made with Uncle Dave, he was playing twin fiddles with another guy, so it's really hard to tell what notes are coming from him and what notes are coming from the other guy who was from another county, which I'll talk about him in a bit here, if there's time. But there's only about 2 recordings where we know it's Maisie playing fiddle by himself.
Do you know what, could you play
there's
something
very
that Maisie
few-
and Uncle Dave would have played?
Yeah, there's very few fiddle players from this area early on that's documented. But, let me see. I can think of it. One of them he played was Sail Away Ladies. Now you got to help me out here.
Come on, y'all.
Sail away, ladies, sail away.
It's a very easy tune.
That's about all it.
Only lyrics I know.
You can hear where it comes in.
Here we go.
Ever I get my new house done, sail away, ladies, sail away. Get my old one to my son, sail away, ladies, sail away. Don't she rock, daddy, oh, don't she rock, daddy, oh, don't she rock, daddy, oh. Ain't no use preventing cry, sail away, ladies, sail away. You'll be an angel by and by, sail away, ladies, sail away. Don't she rock, daddy, oh, don't she rock, daddy, oh, don't she rock, daddy, oh. Come along, boys, go with me, sail away, ladies, sail away. We'll go back to Tennessee, sail away, ladies, sail away. Don't she rock, daddy, oh, don't she rock, daddy, oh, don't she rock,
Ain't that fun music? And it's a lot of fun.
As
Tell us-
Archie Macon would say about his dad, he said he wasn't happy until he got you laughing.
That's right. That's
You know.
right. Do you know that story, which got me thinking about that story? We found a letter that actually Uncle Dave wrote.
Yeah.
He wrote it in 1933, and he wrote it to George C. Hay. And in the letter, he talked. We were talking about. He never talked about himself in first person. He talked about himself in third
Talk
person.
about himself in third person, you know.
Go figure that one. But anyway, tell him what about when you were talking about making people happy and the in Arkansas where he was just beginning his
Arkansas,
career.
yes.
Tell him about that story and what happened and to really revive this person's spirits and what almost happened. Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to give the
Like
story
I say,
away.
growing up, he heard all these performers coming in out of his parents' hotel and things like that. A little while later, his dad gets murdered,
Yeah.
and his family moves again. They move to Reedyville,
Mm-hmm.
and
Four Corners, right there where the tornado was.
his mother operates a little boarding house there.
Yeah.
And again, there's a bunch of different people coming in. And so as far as bridging the 19th and 20th centuries, you had him interacting with everything from black stevedores coming down the Cumberland River in Nashville. You had him probably interacting with some people up on the Cumberland Plateau and McMinnville area, and then Reedyville is kind of in between there. And like I say, growing up during Reconstruction, and he would have heard the old minstrel stuff and what I call classical banjo, which is kind of hard to explain. You know, it's composed sheet music stuff for the banjo, so you get this fancy,
Well, wasn't
pretty
his sister
parlor
a
music.
classical musician?
And she was. That's
Yeah.
what I kept trying to remember, and I forgot. His sister, he
She's
had two
classically
sisters
trained.
actually. He had Lou and Annie that both played the piano. And I think maybe one of them sang, but Annie, I think, spent more time with him than Lou did. And I think she actually, they had come up with 2 or 3 songs together, and I think she wrote them down in sheet music, but it
did?
all got burnt up
Yeah.
in a fire. And but so he was exposed to the parlor music and all that. So you have all these like 18th century influences coming into them, and then you have was I going to tie this into?
His whole idea
Yeah,
was
where
to make people
when he
happy
got started, yeah,
in his performance career.
when they had moved to Reedyville, he was performing and everything for the people that would come in. So he was already developing this idea of being an entertainer, but it was all kind of for fun, you know. And I think he may have had a little gig here and there, but he went to Arkansas to visit a cousin, and
wasn't
was
he trying to
staying-
recuperate himself emotionally? Wasn't he? It was a vacation or something.
from something, yeah.
Yeah, something. Okay.
But where he stayed, again in a hotel, he spent a long time in hotels.
Yeah.
Well, he, you know, people were requesting him to play, and I think they gave him tips and things, and you know, he saw how interested people were, and he thought, you know, maybe I could make a living doing this. And then I think he starts playing professionally about when he was 50.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling like I'm an old man at 32. You know, I'm already getting arthritis at 32, and this old man starts at 50, which he'd been playing all his life, but
Right.
for him to decide to make a living doing.
And really, one of the things that happened, the man that he was playing for in Arkansas,
Yeah.
and he had said, you know, Uncle Dave, you changed my mood so. I said, I just didn't even feel like living. And then I watched you old man, and dancing and playing. And if you can do it, I can. He said, that made me want. Do you remember that story? I can't imagine what song he played. What would you, if you had you know his repertoire better than I do.
Maybe he laughed your blues away, you know.
Okay, you got it. So let's do it.
But I can't remember that one. But
Yeah, well, do you have another one in?
something's always sure to tickle me. I may not be able to belt this out the way Uncle Doc Wilhite used to. Oh, my name is Ticklish Davy, and I came from Tennessee, where everything seems ticklish to me. I've been tickled by an undershirt, tickled by a warm, I've been tickled by a yellow bumblebee. I've always got a tickle stored away up clothes. It makes no difference where I'll ever be. For I'm tickled in the morning and tickled in the night, where something's always wrong. candle and the candle they are both splintered now. Father wore them out with me. So that gives you an example of some of the phrasing that he would get up to. You know, he now I'll get messed up here on the exact order of events, but you know he, like I say, he decided to play professionally. He would, like I say, he would get gigs, and he would also busk on the street and different things. There's a picture of him with his banjo case out.
As in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's got painted on the side of it, you know, where mine's open like this. He had his open like that, where you could see the shell of the case. He had painted on there, world's greatest banjo player. So that'll let you know what kind of character Uncle Dave was, you know. And but one time he was playing in Melton's barber shop in Nashville, is it? And one thing that I was talking about in the minstrel show influence, if you can hand me that open back banjo there.
Okay. Oh, they're heavy.
See this back on this. When he got to recording professionally and stuff like that, he had Gibson make a banjo custom for him that didn't have a back on it, which most of the old ones years and years ago didn't have a back on them. The resonator was a new thing, and like I say, you talk about Uncle Dave bridging the gap between the previous century and the current. He was used to an open back banjo, although he recorded some with the resonator banjos. He had Gibson that they even made one of their RB banjo models. You know, he asked if they could make him one that had an open back and had a dowel stick here in the back, because he would do business like this while he was playing. And if anybody's seen Leroy Troy, how many people have seen Leroy Troy? Now, he was the one that made me want to play, because I saw him carrying on and doing all that stuff, you know. And
John
Sid
Hartford
Hartreader.
does it too.
I
John
didn't know
Hartford.
that Hartford did.
No,
Really?
no, not John. Mike Snyder.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he was doing stuff like that. You know, one of the tricks he would also do, he'd lay that banjo down and he would walk around it and strum it with his hat, and then pick it back up. But where I stopped, you know, and did these, he would do this stuff while he was singing, do it in time with the music, where you would never notice a gap. But he was in Melton's barber shop doing that, and a fellow by the name of Sid Hartreader from Gladeville saw him, and you know, he thought it was the greatest thing. And
Fiddlin' Sid.
Fiddlin' Sid, yeah. And he and there's another fellow that he won another contest back in the day. Uncle Dave asked him, you know, if he wanted to play with him, yeah, and they played some banjo and fiddle stuff, and then he, you know, he finds out Sid plays the guitar. I said, well, get your guitar, let's play some with that, you know. Then when he finds out what a good guitar player he is, on top of being a good fiddle player, he hires him. And so they start going and doing shows, traveling by train from town to town, putting on shows. And another fellow that he met probably around the same time, like I say, I may get my order of events mixed up, was Sam McGee and his brother Kirk from the community of Paytonsville in Williamson County. And so he played a fair amount with them and with Sid, and they would travel around, sometimes Sid back him up, sometimes Sam back him up, and he somehow got discovered by one of the guys that ran Lowe's theater shows. It's spelled Loews. And in Alabama, they put on, I don't know how many shows. They had this long booking,
This predates the opera.
long-standing gig, yeah, for I think a number of weeks. And there were several different people who played. It was Uncle Dave and Sid and Sam and Kurt all play together down there.
Was the Delmores involved in that?
I don't know, but D4 Bailey was.
Oh, yeah.
A African-American harmonica player that was originally from Smith County, Tennessee. And he played with them, and there was this other guy that, now I'm going to have to put him to work a little bit, because if any of y'all don't know what buck dancing is, this is what this last fellow did. Was a fellow by the name of Dancing Bob Bradford, and he was what they call a buck dancer. And Sam McGee wrote a tune for him called Buck Dancer's Choice, something like similar to clogging, but the buck dancing is what clogging came from. American clogging, anyway. You know, they both have an ancestor in European clogging, but American clogging, as we know it today, traces ancestry back to that right there. And you'll notice his feet are close to the ground and everything, and he's knocking out the tune with his feet. But Sam, you were talking about Maisie Todd.
Maisie Todd.
Sam and Kurt and Uncle Dave and Maisie Todd, they made a series of recordings in 1927 where you hear the guitar drop out all of a sudden, and then you hear Sam he stopped playing the guitar and he's beating on the back of it, imitating the buck dancer.
Oh.
If anyone's wondering what that is, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. That's a 1927 session.
That was, and tell them where that was recorded.
New York.
New York. Tell them what happened during those recording sessions, because that is fascinating too. Yeah, it was New York. Yeah.
But I'm getting ahead of myself here.
Okay.
They had the Lowe's theater shows,
Yeah.
and then him and Sid, went touring all over, inspired by that to see how much money they can make going across the South. And they did a show. I believe this was before the WSM barn dance was even
That's
a
correct.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
They did a show at the Ryman, Uncle Dave and Fiddle
But
and
it wasn't.
Sid.
It wasn't the Opry.
Wasn't the Opry, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so he played at the Ryman before it ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's not an official record, but they think he did play the Ryman.
It's either there or when he was doing the Lowe's shows in Alabama.
Right.
I can't remember which of the two it was, but somebody from Sturkey Brothers Furniture
That's
Company
correct.
discovered them.
That's right.
And back in those days, the furniture companies made record players.
Mm-hmm. The consoles.
Yeah. And
Of course, you want your musicians to be there.
so he decides, he books them from some stuff, and then winds up they get a gig making records for some record label up in New York,
RCA.
maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And
Richmond, Indiana. They recorded in Richmond, Indiana too. I think he
I
just
believe
about
they did,
still.
yeah.
Are y'all familiar with that story? that Richmond, Indiana, is where Lawrence Welk and a lot of the Stardust was written and recorded on the big wire spools. And funny story, Tom and I went up there because they actually have on their walkway, on their greenway, you know how you have it in the sidewalk person's name? Well, Uncle Dave Macon is on their walkway, on their greenway. So we went up there to see that commemorative, and it was just really fascinating to see how Ruth's music, and why Richmond, Indiana? Well, that's where the Model T was. It was a factory there, and that leads us to this a little bit about what Uncle Dave felt about cars. Yeah, let's talk about that. And he, because explain to him what really he had a day job. He had a day job. Tell him about his day job.
Well, good people, the start of the name of my firm was the Macon Midway Mule and Mitchell Wagon Transportation Company.
Yeah.
Situated on the dividing line, operated by men on up to time. He had a freight hauling business in
See that over there.
Kittrell.
Kittrell. Mm-hmm.
And so that
From Woodbury to
from Woodbury to Murfreesboro. And he got pretty close to being on the dividing line between the two counties, you know, about halfway. So it was Macon Midway, you know, he's midway between Murfreesboro and Woodbury.
You seen that bridge up there, Uncle Dave Macon Bridge?
Uncle Dave Macon Bridge.
If you ever go there, Mike Doubler, Uncle Dave Macon's great-grandson, told me that on that flat rock is where they had square dances. And Uncle Dave would play right there. So that's why that bridge is named for him. You go there and you can just see it happening. So cool. Go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
Their recordings, when I was talking about the later, the 1927 session, their recordings where he's hollering that square dance calls.
Well, and why was he hard to record? I know this was the case in Richmond, Indiana. Why?
Stomping that foot.
And they'd say they'd have to stop because it was recording on a stylus, right?
It would make that stylus jump. Yeah.
Serious?
So they had to
record it again and again and
They had to take a pillow
Yeah.
and put under his foot. Yeah.
I didn't know they got it finally, but yeah.
You know, and I've got some of the same problem people working with me in the studio. I guess because my dynamics will change. I'm talking quiet like this, all of a sudden, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I think that was probably another thing.
Why do you suppose they haul? Just think about it. Anybody ever grow up on a farm? Oh gosh, Betty, you know why? My granddaddy used to holler. Did you have grandparents that hollered for their cows and pigs and make sounds like animals?
Yeah, it's called the cows, you did like that.
Anybody? Oh, God,
You did it because you could, if you really know the truth.
You did it because you could? Well, I thought because they were supposed to get the cows in. That's what.
That's why my uncle would holler. His dairy cows, he had this very
granddaddy did that.
specific sound he made.
Yeah.
And they were nowhere in sight. And as soon as he would make that sound, give it about 5 minutes and you'd start seeing them come in. I mean, they knew exactly what it meant. It was milking time.
That's what
mine does. I whistle for them.
I'm sorry?
I go out and whistle for mine.
Well, your mama also had a call too, that you heard you showed up to.
Yeah, there's that. I had one of those. No, that would be Daddy.
Here's something that I don't
You
think
better
probably
come home.
talked about enough.
What's
what
that?
a strong woman his mother must have been. Because
His mother and wife.
Right.
Yes.
His mama, she ran you know, we think about the daddy as being the breadwinner in the old Southern society, but his mother ran that hotel more so than his daddy
Well,
did.
and
And
he
then the
was
boarding
killed.
house after that.
And having gone through that, by the way, Uncle Dave saw that Henry Garner. He actually saw that happen. So it did affect him. And that's why he could relate to people who had problems, and and his own music was his own kind of therapy, you know.
Yeah.
And he shared that with so many people. With you're talking about D. Ford, he wouldn't stay in a place that D. Ford couldn't stay. Just telling you that. That's what
Yeah.
how it was, right? That's the
Right.
story. And
And poor D. Ford, he had to put up with a lot, you know, even on the radio, they said, here he is, our little mascot.
yeah.
Yeah.
And not he didn't ever view him that way. So
Right.
yeah. And so, in fact, if he couldn't stay in a hotel, he stayed in the car with him. Yeah. So,
I had the pleasure of meeting D. Ford Jr.
yeah.
before he passed away.
Well, D. Ford didn't get, y'all know this, Uncle Dave people know this. We gave D. Ford Bailey posthumously the Trailblazer Award one year, and I can't remember when. Damon, you probably know, y'all do. The very next year, after having him not being in the Country Music Hall of Fame, suddenly the next year he's in the Country Music Hall of Fame. I don't know if we had anything to do with that. We like to think we did, but who knows? But yeah. So they're great people, great talent. So, you were going to tell them about what they would have recorded.
Like I
up
say,
there?
after he made all those recordings with Sid, you know, not only did Sid back up Uncle Dave made recordings where he was backing up Sid, and like I say, he also recorded some with Sam and Kurt McGee backing him up.
Mm-hmm.
And around this time in the 1920s, there was a band called the Skillet Lickers.
Yeah.
And I think you've mentioned Old Crow Medicine Show. I think
Right.
you trace a lot of influence and stuff like
Well, Oak
back to
Grove's
the Skillet Lickers.
was the first place
They
old-time
were-
band. What year was that? It was Marty Stewart's year, 2000.
Well, I
Oak Grove-
remember, I was a little kid.
You were little, yeah.
Marty Stewart,
Yeah,
you know,
Marty's
Granddaddy pulled
heritage.
me up there in that jam session before I had even learned to play right. I had this little backpacker 5-string banjo up there. Marty Stewart bumping me with that hip. It hurt. I still remember the feeling of that to this day, but he was just so into that music, man.
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah, that was
I've still got a picture of it.
That's the other thing. I mean, we can
strong
talk about the
memory,
heritage of that
you know.
we've created here in our community with old time music, and that the Uncle Dave Macon phenomenon, Dave's phenomenon, Roots music phenomenon is we got 47 years of it here, and I have my dear guys. I'm just telling you this. My husband Tom recorded almost every single one from the time I knew him in 94 and 92 until, well, 2019. No, I guess he did last year too. All those are, we've just got to, those are things like Grandpa Jones, Ramona, John Hartford was, remember when John Hartford actually competed in the banjo contest. Were you all there that time?
I probably didn't even exist at the time.
Okay, y'all remember that. Everybody said, John Hartford's entered the contest and nobody will
Hey,
win.
look, speaking of, this is the Deering Hartford model right
All
here.
right, okay.
Except mine says Deering up here, his said Hartford right
Yeah,
across.
yeah. Well, guess what? I don't think he came in first. That was
When
funny.
you look at the way that John
Yeah.
dressed when he would go
Yeah.
on stage, and I wonder who he could have got that clothing idea
Oh, yeah,
from,
it was
you
like
know.
Uncle Dave, his dark, and his
Yeah.
derby hat and all that, yeah. Well, play us one of the, something Kurt and Sam McGee and
Well, I was going to say about the Skillet Lickers being such a popular band, Dr. Charles Wolf said he thinks that's why they had got Uncle Dave to put together this full string band. So you had 2 fiddles, a banjo, and a guitar, playing songs like that Sail Away Ladies that I played for you earlier. And that's some of the only recordings we have of Mr. Todd. You know, there's,
That's right.
but he Well, I lost my train
We're
of
gonna
thought.
play
He
it.
had some of the more
Yeah.
popular tunes that he recorded came out of that session. Sam and Kirk, they both played banjo and guitar, but Kirk also played the fiddle. And they named their band for this the Fruit Jar Drinkers, which
Oh, yeah.
made things messy because there was already a band called the Fruit Jar Drinkers,
That's right.
led by George Wilkerson, playing on the Grand Ole Opry.
That's right.
Bill Norton told me that when Uncle Dave got home from Nashville, Judge Hay read him the riot act over that.
Mm-hmm.
But, and here's the interesting thing though, is, you know, you had the Fruit Jar Drinkers and then you had the coincidentally named Uncle Dave Macon Fruit Jar Drinkers that had Kirk McGee as one of the fiddlers in it.
Right.
Well, when George Wilkerson died,
Mm.
guess who replaced him? Kirk McGee.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that's where it, you know, it all kind of overlapped with each other. And you said you had some kind of story from those sessions, didn't you?
Well, just that they couldn't record him. I didn't ever know about that
Oh,
pillow
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
That sounds.
But probably because Uncle Dave had recorded under that name, that may be why the other Fruit Jars didn't have any recording sessions. I'm trying to think of in a minute what's
How about
another-
can you do chewing gum?
Chewing gum.
Is that out loud?
No, it's not, but,
Or how about?
Uncle Dave wrote this, or this arrangement of it anyway. I'm going to sing you about my pretty little girl. She's just as pretty as a drum. Habit she had was one that was bad. She was always a chewing gum. Meow, 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 meow. Whenever she went to Sunday school, she always come with a drum. Oh, right where they sat and right where they sat, they were both the chewing gum. Whenever she walked out of town, she always did look so cute. Every merchant she met was called for a bottle. Juice fruit, juice fruit, juice fruit.
What's your favorite Uncle Dave tune? You have a favorite one?
All of them,
I
just
know.
about all of them.
I think mine's Sell Away Ladies.
But you can't play all of them on the radio.
Yeah, that's right. But
Judge Hayes said there were things that Uncle Dave would say, some of the funniest stuff you'd ever hear backstage that could never go out on the air.
well, that tend to be that way.
Say
Yeah,
what
we
ladies
did Sell
already
Away
know.
Ladies. Yeah. But do you know another? Do you don't have a favorite tune? That, you want to take a chance?
I don't know if I have a favorite, but it's one of my favorites.
Boy, your mom's got strong songs.
And I don't know if you remember Jimmy Costa. He used to come to
Oh
the
yeah,
festival
do.
from all the way up in West Virginia, but Uncle
Yeah.
Dave's influence reached all the way up there.
That's the way this music is. It is, not only is it contagious, even if you want to like it as a connoisseur of it, but it's also, it replicates itself. And like you said about Old Crow Medicine Show, they had come down here from North Carolina, and they were, one of the girls at WSM had had told them to come to Uncle Dave and enter the contest. They didn't even have $2 to enter the contest, right? You remember. And then one of the girls from WSM gave them the money, the registration money. And of course, they wanted the rest is history on that one. Yeah, I think
I'm
I've
not
still...
going to play wagon wheel if that's
No,
what you
no.
ask.
I actually have,
No, I don't mind.
Catch gave me that first record that they had that went, they recorded up in the mountains of North Carolina. I still have that. Yeah, yeah.
But,
He
Jimmy
said he
Costa-
likes Uncle Dave Macon Days. I said, I bet you do. So,
Jimmy Costa I was talking about, I've learned this from him. I later got Uncle Dave's recording of it, But this is one of them that he recorded with Sam McGee backing him up. And he may have been playing a six-string banjo guitar backing him up. So they did a lot of stuff like that. I was going to tell you why I brought two banjos. You notice this one's in a different tuning than that one. It takes forever to retune these things, and Uncle Dave knew that, so he would carry about 3 different banjos with him. He even had one that was a shorter scale, and I think he may have recorded Whoop 'em Up Cindy on that one. But he would have a local banjo picker, Red Marble, that used to come around. He told me, you know, I'd see pictures of Uncle Dave. He had these rags tied around the head of his banjo. You know, that was to let him know which banjo was in which tune and help him be able to remember, because he had several banjos of the same model. And Red, so he'd tell him, hand me the red, or hand me the blue, you know.
Wow, that makes sense.
And I thought about, for this, maybe getting a bandana and putting it on there, but I didn't wind up doing that. But this one that he recorded with Sam McGee, called Whoop 'em Up Cindy, and he started it off with a little bit of shortening grid. Gentlemen, if you ain't right, get right and let your conscience be your guide, because I'm going to play this one with more heterogeneous, constant policy, double flavor, and unknown qualities than usual. And Sam would say, take it right on yourself. Here we go. Higher on the mountaintop, we took the cherries, soon the boys court the girls, but sooner they are married. Whoop 'em up Cindy, Lord, whoop 'em up Cindy, Lord, whoop 'em up Cindy, Lord, gone forever. These instruments are aerobic, aren't they? I've got a story, a Sam McGee story. I don't know if you've heard this one. You know, back then they didn't have internet, or, you know, they had show posters, which those hat show prints were just all over when they'd come to town. But have you ever heard this story? It's in Charles Wolfe's book, Good Natured Riot, that Sam McGee would go through the town with a red wig on. Did you ever hear that? Well, there you go back to the minstrel shows in the 19th century. They had a character in the minstrel shows called Toby.
Oh, okay.
And
Didn't know why they did.
whoever played Toby would wear that red wig.
Okay. Well,
And
Sam
I
would
think
play
Black had
that.
his teeth too, so there you go, Lonzo and Oscar. Oscar also
Yes.
wore Toby wig, you know.
Well, and that was to draw attention, and he was really kind of innovative in the time, and rather an entrepreneur. He, everybody else was kind of finicky about selling records, and why would you suspect that they would be upset about selling records? The average artist. Why do you think that they didn't want to sell their records before the show? That's exactly right. But Uncle Dave, he said, no, we sell the records and it'll make more performances. And quite honestly, there was nobody doing that in those days. There's two things that Uncle Dave was innovative about, well, maybe 3. One, the technology of the day with the radio, taking advantage of that, but also the thing that was so interesting about him, he really, he would sell those records out of the back of his car, right? Remember that? and he'd have,
Oh, were they good or something?
yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people would think, oh, well, why would you sell those records? They won't come to the show. No, they came to the show and bought the records. But most people weren't doing that at that time. And the other thing that he was innovative about, he always ended his show with a gospel song. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that still is a trend on the Grand Ole Opry. It still is. They ending the show with a gospel song. So one thing, I think, and you may know this song, I hope you do. If you know, that's okay. Tom and I did with the MTSU Theater and Drama and lots of MTSU students, and we did a show that dramatized Uncle Dave Macon's life. It was called Walking in Sunlight.
Did anybody make a recording?
Oh yeah, we got it. Yeah, we got
I would
it.
like to have a copy of it.
Yeah,
I haven't
we
seen
do.
it since
Oh yeah. See, yeah, we do have it on video.
And my buddy, Austin Derryberry, he
Yeah.
played a
Played
character
the lead.
loosely based on Joel Davidson. in
That's
this.
right. He sure did. And can you play Walking in Sunlight? Love this song.
On my journey over the mountain, through the deep vale, Jesus has said, I'll never forsake thee, promise divine, and never can fail. Heavenly sunlight, flooding my soul with glory divine. Hallelujah, I am rejoicing, singing His praise. Jesus is mine. Shadows above me never conceal my Savior and guide. He is the light in the darkness, everlasting, close to His side.
Sing it, everybody.
Heavenly sunlight, flooding my soul with glory divine. Hallelujah, I'm rejoicing, singing His praise.
On that note, you know how beautiful heaven must be.
How beautiful heaven must be.
I'm like,
Remember
God, shake
the
a
band.
fan, Joe, again.
Maybe that one will be in too.
First time I heard him play and sing that song. And we've been a lot of places singing these old songs.
Well, we love these old songs. We want, that's what we do, and this is what we do.
But I had to, he made them recordings with Sammy Kirk and Maisie and Sid and all them. Also recorded with the Delmore brothers some
Yes.
in the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Then after he quit working with Sid for a while for some reason, he had started bringing his son Doris with him.
That's right.
And
Doris could drive.
that was one of the reasons he got the job there.
Yeah,
And,
that's right. Doris could drive.
one thing that, of course, he was playing the Opry since 1926. He wasn't on there when it first started, but he played supposedly played the Ryman before the Opry had officially become a show, and Sid that played with him actually played on the Opry before Uncle Jimmy Thompson did.
That's right.
But not a lot of people know that. Another thing, after all this recording work he had done in the 20s and 30s, like I say, he played the Opry also during that time. There was a movie that was being made in 1940 simply called Grand Ole Opry, and it had a new country music star at that time by the name of Roy Acuff and all his Smoky Mountain Boys. And there was a fellow named Bashful Brother Oswald playing the dobro, which Uncle Dave, Oz was also a banjo player. Uncle Dave willed him one of his banjos. Also willed one of his banjos to the Lake String Band. And then his son Doris also sold one to Earl Scruggs, so that he's got several of his banjos floating around. I had the honor of playing one of them. And they made this movie in 1940. Uncle Dave, being the old school guy that he was, just imagine that guy having to make a trip out to California to film a movie and never had a film camera pointed in front of him in his life, and they put stage makeup on him. And those lights at the time gave off a lot of heat, made him sweat, got all over his collar, and Doris said he raised Cain about that. And he made them carry a country ham in a wooden box. Made Roy Acuff carry it through customs and everything, you know.
Ricky
He had
Skaggs
a
wrote a
devil
song
of a
about that.
time. And then after it was done with, they ate the ham and stuff during the shooting, fine. You know, Roy thinks he's through with it. Roy boy, why don't you take that home with us? It'll make a hell of a good hen's nest. You know, Roy thought it was all with.
Yeah.
But you know, and after that, you know, Uncle Dave goes back to playing on the Opry and everything. He used to play more than one style. He used to play finger style. It wasn't bluegrass, but it was kind of a precursor to it. And I'm finding out now that one of the people that was one of the precursors to bluegrass influencers of, you know, the music over there in North Carolina, Charlie Poole. I recently found out that Charlie Poole was influenced by Uncle Dave's records. So
Wow.
maybe,
Okay. Maybe. Yeah.
some of his musical DNA is
Yeah.
in there. But he played clawhammer and three finger, but as he got older, he did more so of just what he called rapping, which is the style that I play. He died in 1952.
The
But-
largest funeral ever in Rutherford County, still. It went from the square to Coleman Cemetery, the funeral procession.
And but have you got anything else?
Well, I was going to say, you're going to play How Beautiful Heaven Must Be.
How beautiful heaven must be. This was his favorite.
It was his favorite song.
Favorite hymn, and they have.
He played on the Opry, and he told his family to listen to it because, remember that story? They said they didn't, but by the way, Matilda never saw him perform professionally, his wife, never. And so remember, I don't know if you've heard this
Some
story.
musicians' wives are like that.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
can
know
imagine.
why.
But then, I guess it was Doris. No, it was Mike Doubler's father, Alvin. It was Alvin? Anyway, he told him to listen to the Opry, that he was going to start a whole new tradition. And this is the song that he played, right here.
Let's see. I can think of the start of it. We read of a place that's called heaven. It's built for the pure and the free. The truth in God's word has given. How beautiful heaven must be. How beautiful heaven the happy and free. Their haven of rest for the weary. How beautiful heaven must be. In heaven no drooping, no pining, no wishes for elsewhere to be. The light is forever there shining. How beautiful heaven must be. How beautiful heaven must be. Sweet home of the happy and free. The haven of rest for the weary. How beautiful heaven must be. So sweetly are singing up there by the beautiful sea. Sweet chords from their gold harps are ringing. How beautiful heaven must be. How beautiful heaven must be. Sweet home of the happy and free. Fair haven of rest for the how beautiful heaven must be. There we go. Down where they go. Down where they go.
Well, that's all, folks. I hope you enjoyed this tonight. I surely did. I love these people and I love this music, and we've just got to keep this going, and we've got to keep the stories going, David. We got to keep the stories going in Rutherford County. We have to. This is too special to sit on our hands and do nothing about it, because we have a story. And it's beautiful, and we've got to tell it. We've got to share it with children and grandchildren and the next generation of kids. These two have gone to more schools and done making music with men. Oh, I've drug them so many places, but they've been so gracious, and you got to do that. This is novel, and they can tell you, they can attest to this. When we leave a school with making music education, they're different. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I've never seen it not change people. Never. And I've never seen it not change kids. And, you know, when they know the roots of their music, what they're listening to now, and all of those, it's not that it's wrong now, it's just that we need to tell the story. Because with that story, as we pointed out earlier in the presentation, one of the things that makes us work together and as a team is we're friends. And we need to be friends. Do y'all agree that we need a little bit more friendship, you know? And furthermore, it's hard to be a friend, because sometimes we disappoint our friends and we do things that, but in Uncle Dave Macon days, we seem to work things out, right guys? Mm-hmm. We seem to do it, because we have a common purpose. A common purpose is to see that this music and this history and this is cherished to more people than us. And we keep trying year after year after year. COVID about shut us down. Moving about just changed everything, and now, you know, lots of people have gone before, and we've had, not just my husband, other people have left, but they've left a legacy, and we've got to continue it. And I had one more thing to say, and I can't think what it was, but something very important.
I feel rich when I'm dancing.
Yeah.
Laura,
Yeah.
I think everybody else probably feels the same way too. You brought two individuals here tonight. Mr. Moffitt is world renowned
Yes.
as a book dancer.
Yes.
He's book dancing in more places than some of us have ever visited. He has the National Heritage Award for what he does. He's won because you've heard him say it here tonight, and the way that he can play this and go back and tell the story. I don't think you'll find two other people here to tell this history that you have here. This is something else.
It is something else.
But
It really is.
I have watched Mr. Thomas right here and what he can do for years. And I've always thought I'd love to sit down and just hear what he has to say. And I'm just glad to be here with him tonight.
Yeah.
And with Daniel will be along with him.
Let's give him a hand.
Could you picture if Macon Midway Mule and Wagons, if they were around today, it would be like some kind of Uber Eats thing with an app and whatnot?
Oh, yeah, it would. But he talks about, and this is in 1933. And this is something that he talks, Uncle Dave, not yet established with what he does now. Remember, he talks of himself in third person. Is now looking forward to television. This was May 23rd, 1933. Television, thinking it might add one more attraction to the radio programs. Who would have thought that he was even thinking like that? In
5 years
1933.
later, somebody else was born,
Yeah.
1938.
Well, and the Opry was on television in the 1940s, in a facsimile of it. So he was thinking ahead, that's why our first introduction to him was the impact that he had from the 19th to the 20th century. And now here he is, we're in the 21st century. So the influence that he had was generational. So.
Oh yeah, and we're still seeing some of it today. And with the festival not having the big contests and things like that, I'm worried about what would happen to his influence, as far as bringing in. But we're still seeing some of it in guys like, of course, I mentioned my friend Austin Berryberry.
Yes, Austin.
Corbin
Yeah.
Hazlett, who wrote a wonderful dissertation about Uncle Dave's banjo styles, which you can find online, and I highly encourage people to look that up. Tater Carruthers, Josiah Tyree. There's a guy now, where I said Sid met Uncle Dave in the barber shop. I believe this is the guy that runs the barber shop in Murfreesboro now. His name's Aaron Stevens, and he twirls the banjo.
Oh, wow.
Uncle Dave. So we've still got some people carrying it on, and this bluegrass group, East Nash Grass, which features
Oh,
Maddie
yeah.
Denton, who
Maddie
was
Denton. She was one of our.
from Murfreesboro, that won everything under the sun.
Did you give him?
Guess what they had wound up having to hit with was railroading and gambling. That's all the Davis song.
Wow. Let me
So
tell you, when
still-
this is passing out, I brought a rat card to tell you about Uncle Dave, Ruth's Rendezvous in September. We are partnering with Habitat for Humanity. We're trying to help them with their projects, and so on Saturday they'll be doing the Hammer Down there, and we're going to have a car show and all kinds of things going on that day. But we're working together, promoting this new partnership with them, and it's been really, really fun working with them. I don't know if you know Melissa Krause. She has quite a history too. She actually was one of the music, technical directors for Hee Haw. So she's come with a world of experience, and really we've enjoyed working with her. So this will tell you all about that. Go to our website, and also tells you a little bit. I think we've got a QR code for Hammer Down.